It's Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and excuse me, this is the time of year I like to talk about um, all things Lucifer because my initial dedication to Lucifer was 4 years ago around Walpurgisnacht in 2020. And I've been working with Lucifer pretty steadily since then. Maybe not like every single day, and I do work with other spirits, but like Lucifer is my patron, deity or spirit or whatever you want to call it. But I want to talk about this because this touches upon several different areas. And, I talk a lot about like when people, what their expectations are in working with spirits and doing magic and spells and the self work and shadow work that goes around it. And, the common question I get, and I've done videos on this before, so I'm not going to go into it too in depth, is kind of like people expecting guaranteed results or timelines for things. And let me tell you this. I will never tell you that because this is, and I will give you an example as to why. So, because I've been tracking back, and this is really fun. You'll see this in the video deck because I recorded a podcast with S. Conley a couple days ago, and literally we were talking the podcast, and I just had this like moment of holy crap, this thing that from a ritual and channeling and stuff I'd done with Lucifer like 3 years ago, all came together at once, and I was like, "Holy crap, I get it now." And it was this is why I will never tell you, yes, the spell will work in X amount of time, and this will be the results to it. Because a lot of times, especially when you're working with spirits, boy howdy, do they love to teach you lessons. Here's the lesson that I learned from Lucifer and how I struggled to really get it. And once I did get it, holy crap, I was like, oh, I see why I got this message and why, I'll go into a little bit of it as much as I can. So this was back in 2021. Obviously, I worked with Lucifer at the time. This was right before I kind of got together with my last ex. And, it was going into that and wanting it to work out, which I think it was destined to fail to begin with. Um, but the thing that I had made a promise to Lucifer before going into that relationship was that to love myself first and foremost and never lose myself in love again. And I failed at that. The ritual succeeded. I got together with him and, whatnot, but I lost myself. And the way that relationship ended really was kind of, it was the final nail in the coffin of me staying in Philadelphia, because I mean really I wanted to leave, move, like I kind of made the decision to move in earlier in 2021, but kind of stayed around to see how things worked out with this guy. So obviously they didn't. So anyways, when things fell apart in 2022, I at the time was, I had really started doing like that really heavy lifting trauma healing. I was doing a lot of EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, reprocessing, which I use a lot for PTSD. And I it's like everything just hit at this confluence. That's right around the time I was diagnosed with autism, and it just was a veritable orgy of bad timing, and it really pushed me over the edge, in a lot of ways. I wasn't really prepared for it. It pushed me into a very deep depressive state, and guess what? I didn't love myself, and I lost myself in love again. And boy howdy, was Lucifer not happy with me for a while there. He was like, "Nope, gotta learn your lesson." And I found something from later in 2022, as I was flipping through my, if you can call it a grimoire, um, it's just my random ADHD nonsense of a grimoire. But this is the thing I wrote. It says, Lucifer, love yourself fully and you will find love again. To begin to let go of all the pain is to realize it has been survived. Love yourself more, be more selfish. And it really, that kind of got me thinking about it even more too. I wrote a little bit. I'm just kind of getting back. Here we go. So this is kind of what I started to write here is I've been decimated, obliterated, and reconstituted more times than I can recall. Love's heart lies bleeding on the shores of the abyss, crisscrossed, circumnavigated, eviscerated, and put back together like a puzzle of Frankenstein's monster putting together a puzzle of his own visage. All these stories led me beyond the abyss to find my way home, to find myself again, to be my own origin story, to be me, to find that which was lost so many decades ago. Towards the within, always without, searching, seeking to find the things we lost in the fire of our soul's immolation. Be more selfish. I've been selfless to the point of erasure, bleeding to death and never noticing that I was dying to save everyone else and no one was saving me. There is blood on my hands. It's mine, silent and still, cold as prayers for the rain, and one last Totentanz dance of death, calling my soul back home. Being selfish is not a polarity. It's necessary for survival and growth. Be more selfish. Fall in love with yourself every day and know that the only person you cannot live without is yourself. Just let go and be. And the last part is something I incorporated because at the time I was working with Santa Muerte when I was going through all this. And the best death is having lived a beautiful life. Find beauty in all things, in yourself, in the waking world, because dreams fade, as do we. That's just kind of what I wrote so far. But the never lose yourself in love part, that's what really hit the nail home for me and like, like in a very like visceral kind of way. And what I realized that in this, I'm gonna go over this a little bit more in my pathworking, my Goetia pathworking series video on Marbus, because holy hell, I've been going through the like, I don't know, some sort of evolution, spiritual evolutionary meat grinder. Um, but here's where that story began is I talk about like I was in an abusive relationship when I was in my like 20, 21, 22 maybe. And I don't really talk about it. I probably never will on here. Just that's just the rubric of it. But the never lose yourself in love again. This was around the time I was first misdiagnosed as bipolar. As we later found out, it's just look, it was autism all along and PTSD. Funny that. And a little bit of ADHD, because that's my mania was just ADHD. It never was. I never have had, despite two bipolar diagnoses, I've never had an actual psychotic manic episode as such. So, but by the time I came out of this relationship, every aspect of my personality had and me, everything that made me me had been eradicated. I was a shell of a person. I lost everything that made me me. Between the psychotropic medications doing my brain in and the gaslighting and abuse from my abuser, who has, I think, been on a 20 plus year dirt nap right now. Great. I hope it ended horribly and it ended in abject. I will leave it with a quote. I hope his suffering was legendary, even in hell. I'm gonna leave it at that. Save me the effort of having to do it myself. Anywho, um, but I came out of that lost. I lost everything that made me me. I lost my creativity. I lost my spirituality. I lost my personality. I lost everything and was completely alone and had to rebuild myself from scratch, which is what I did. It took a few years and whatnot. But there's this cycle where I keep in a lot of relationships, I lose myself. I lost myself so many times during my marriage because it was like I was living a life that never felt like my own, and I never was sure who I was supposed to be at any given time. And again, at times lost my creativity, lost my spirituality through most of that, and kind of had to keep rebuilding myself over and over again. And that happened again with the my post-divorce relationships, is that I kept losing my parts of myself. And not loving myself enough because I guess I apparently am really attracted to people who like to ignore the shit out of me and treat me not so great actually. Um and that's why I'm not polyamorous anymore. I would like to be a priority in someone's life, not an option. Um but that's the thing. I have to be vigilant, militant and vigilant. Jen likes to make up words. Um, in making sure that I am not deviating from my self love. And if I have to be more selfish, I will be. Because I was in such a bad place in 2022 that, like, I wasn't going to survive that year unless I got my shit together, and I did. And, has it been easy? No. But, through working with Lucifer, through working with all the spirits that I do, it's helped bring me. I am probably the most complete version of myself now that I have been in decades. And that's remarkable in and of itself. And a lot of that comes from these messages that I've gotten from working with Lucifer. And that's why it is absolutely, I don't care what aspect you're working in the occult, whether you're working with, whether you're, Luciferian, Satanist, demonologer, whether you're love and light Wiccan, whether you're, light worker, whether you're whatever you are, wherever you fit in there. When you're working with spirit, um, the most fundamental importance things that you can work on, you have to do the shadow work, you have to do the self work, you have to practice radical self-love and acceptance, because otherwise it's just kind of a shit show. You're not going to move through the process of spiritual awakening and ascension until you heal on the deepest soul level, till you and these are things, like, I mean, I have taken multiple approaches. Every day for the past 14 years, I have been doing the work. And, I've had setbacks obviously during that time, but I have dedicated myself and my time to healing and becoming a better version of myself, to becoming my true self again. And that part of the process, I can't teach you how to become yourself. You'll have to figure that out. There are plenty of tools out there to, like, learn shadow work, learn energy work, learn any of these things. And I take a multifaceted approach. I've got my therapist. I've got my team of therapists, psychiatrists, specialists, all of that to manage. If there's medications, like right now, I'm not really on any medications because I do the ketamine treatments. That's another thing. The rapid healing that I have achieved through ketamine and microdosing psilocybin, even, medical marijuana a little bit, but the rapid healing and integration I've experienced through that has been, like, I've made more progress in the past year and a half than I have in the previous, 12 to 13 years of doing this work. So having my spirituality is such important part of me that, and I don't need people to validate it or agree with it or whatnot. I mean, maybe respect it, because I kind of, I'm sort of at the point where, like, if you're gonna diss the things I'm into, like, bye bye. No, I do not need you in my life. Um, you know. So, and that's groups, people, whatever. I'm like, you're gonna look down on me because whatever I do, I'm like, bye bye, bye bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out too hard, at least. Um, so in order to move forward, the healing I needed to do, and I'm still doing it. Like this past month, the reason I haven't made a whole lot of videos is I have been in the weeds of I can't even, like, it's done my head in. Like, I'm like, my brain is broken from, like, the connections I've made of the things that I see now and understand about myself, about my origin stories, about my history, about my own personal mythology. And the healing and integration has been so profound. Like, and I've encountered people, it's like, "Well, can I work with these spirits if but I don't wanna work on myself. I don't care." I'm like, "Well, you can, nothing's stopping you, but you're probably just not gonna get that much out of it." And I look at the people who aren't healing, and, you've got when I mean, I have a weird relationship with the broad left-hand path, occult community just because there's so much rampant addiction. There's so much just general assholery and just, ooh, being like the perpetuating of negative stereotypes of what people think of, say, occultists or Satan people. It's like almost like they want to create a satanic panic and more chaos and fear. I'm like, it's great that you hate yourself so much, but can you not, deflect it all on me? Because I would like to, just I'm a decent person. Yeah, I work with demons. Am I evil? No, not really. I mean, I was joking the other day. My professional byline should be, "I'm a Gen X Gemini who spent half her life in Philadelphia. I'm a full body manifestation of fuck around and find out." I will defend myself if needs be because, that be how it is. But as I've grown into the person that I am now, and healing through so much so rapidly, it's really intense, and I don't know that I would have gotten to this far into it had I not been just kind of having that guidance from Lucifer. Always, and whenever I get messages from Lucifer, there's always a self-love thing in there. And it's yeah, so I mean, I've been working 4 years now primarily with Lucifer and Lilith, and yeah, the healing has been unparalleled. And people, yeah, I wish people talked about this more. I mean, it's so much of the content I see out there is being an adversary and fuck all, we can do what we want. There's no rules here. I'm like, that's part of the problem is there's no decorum because anyone could just walk into the party and drop their junk in the mashed potatoes and call it a day. And I mean, that doesn't make for a party I really want to go to if that's what I'm going to be dealing with all the time. And I think that, yeah, that what Lucifer said, love yourself fully and you will find, well, that was a message to me. Love yourself first and foremost and never lose yourself in love. And again, this one, love yourself fully and you will find love again. To begin to let go of all the pain is to realize it has been survived. I've been through a lot in my life, a lot of trauma, a lot of big T trauma and stuff like that. I survived it. I don't like when people look at me like, "Oh, you poor thing," or like, one of my exes, I was trying to tell him about something, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a really great expression of cringy buyer's remorse you got going on there, boy." Yeah. Um, so it's people don't talk about their trauma as much because a lot of it depends on the reactions of other people. And it's hard, and I've been informed that sometimes my trauma traumatizes other people, so I'm also careful to talk about it that way because it's upsetting. I'm like, dude, I've lived it and survived it. What are you crying about? um I can be a little tough about things sometimes because I've had to be. But so that's kind of my thoughts on my going. This is now my fourth year of in my dedication to Lucifer, and everything where I started on 4 years ago to where I am now, I'm an entirely different person. And I've changed and I've healed and I love myself. I love my life. Is it perfect? Of course not. Nothing is. Are there things I want to change? Of course. Are there things I still need to heal? Of course. But onward and upward. And yeah, so when you work with spirit, when you really work with spirit, I'm not just walking up to Lucifer and asking, "Bring me my soulmate. Oh, Lucifer, curse this person for me. Oh, Lucifer, do this. Oh, Lucifer, do that." A lot of my workings are just this stuff is healing, is, you know, it, making the connections, exploring, how everything works and fits together in like a grand scale. And so many people, it's like, okay, well, you're just walking away, money, please. And yeah, okay, I do it too, but it's balancing it through all the things. And I will perhaps end on the thing that I like to hammer in. It's about balancing the light and dark. If you're existing in total darkness or you're existing in total light, if you're a light worker or the darkest of dank edgelord black magic satanists or whatever, um if you're in those opposite polarities and only existing in there, yeah, have fun with that. You are going to be so out of balance that it's gonna fuck your shit up whether you intend it to or not. So you can work the path of light and think you're so much better than everyone else, or you can be a badass sorcerer and, lopping chicken heads off for demons, to curse people. And you know what? You're both garbage. Sorry. At that point, you need to heal your shit. You need to find that balance in the middle because I've been there. Maybe not the lopping the heads off the chicken part, but because I wouldn't do that. But you got to balance that stuff because you know what? You can't exist in all light and you can't exist in all darkness because in between that, you have an entire spectrum of color and all the shades of gray. And I went to art school and I know all of them because I took color theory classes. Mic drop or paintbrush drop. Anywho, I hope you found this, helpful in your journey, especially if you're working with Lucifer, especially or just starting out, and just a perspective of how other people work with these spirits. So, anywho, thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Be sure to sign up for our e-newsletter so you know what's going on because algorithms suck, y'all. If you really love us, consider signing up for our Patreon or our YouTube memberships. We have support tiers from like $1 to $10 a month. If you really love us, it helps us be able to, keep bringing you awesome content. Bye. Oh yeah, P.S. Love y'all.